Welcome to One Last Blade. Today, I'm going to go through my army and see if I have any way of dealing with knights, because I'm playing against knights this weekend. My army can shred infantry like nobody's business. Grey Knights have storm bolters everywhere. We have 1,000 attacks on everything. And we just have a problem against bigger vehicles. Anti-tank isn't super common in this book. So I'm going to go through what I have painted and ready to go and see if there's any way that I can actually beat knights with what I have. There are two things you need to think about when making a list to fight knights, and that is surviving against knights and killing knights. Now, surviving knights, I'm not super concerned with. I tend to stick in Tide of Shadows all the time, and I'm wearing Terminator armor, so against a lot of their ranged weapons, I'm going to be doing okay. This gun, which I forget what it's called, Reaper, it does a lot of shots and it has AP2 and 2 damage at strength 6. So I'm going to be saving on 3s against those along my Terminator armor, so I'm not super concerned. I'm not sure what he's bringing, but I'm pretty sure he's not bringing any thermal cannons just because I've seen my buddy's knights before and I don't think he has any thermal cannons on them. The thermal cannons are very swingy anyway, so it's probably not going to be too much. So as far as surviving knights goes, I think I'm going to have a lot of tough, really high armored bodies, and I'm going to be able to survive what he can throw at me. But killing knights, what I really have to think about is, do I want to try to engage them at range, or do I want to engage them in melee? I don't have a lot of long-range firepower. I've got this guy and his dual las cannon and his missile launcher, but beyond that, my Dread Knights have got a few heavy weapons on them, but the Gatling silencers are a strength 4, so they're not doing anything unless I spend 2 CP to increase their strength, which isn't worth it. Heavy Incinerator is not going to do much because I don't care if it's auto-hitting, it's only going to be strength 6. Even the Heavy Psi Cannon, it's going to be strength 7, so it's still wounding at 5s. Don't got a lot of good options as far as guns with these guys. I've got my beloved Land Raiders, but again, these guys are infantry chewers. A Crusader and a Redeemer. They're not doing a whole lot, except for maybe this one Hunter-Killer missile against Knights. So they're not going to help me a whole lot with shooting. And then we have my only other heavy weapon platform, my Storm Raven. This poor thing hasn't seen the tabletop in a very, very long time. But I've equipped it with the las cannons, I have the missiles, and I can easily pop these little heavy bolters off and replace them with multi-meltas, which are better now that I think about it. Especially a twin multi-melta, that's 4 shots. You might actually be viable against knights. But this is just going to get shot out of the sky immediately. It never doesn't happen, and then I'll just be sad I spent the 300 points bringing it. Oh, food for thought. Okay, so for shooting, I don't have a whole lot. I have this, I have you. Oh, that's really it. Well, I guess I also have this Razorback, so I think I have a max of 6 las cannons that I can bring, assuming that I just tried to dump all into las cannons. But what I really have to consider now is, do I want to even try to engage them in range? If I try to focus on range and it turns out I can't really do Knight takedown with range, it's gonna suck that I invested so many points into it. So let's see what I have melee-wise. I just realized that I only have 2 Nemesis Demon Hammers in my entire collection. I have the Paragon of my Paladin squad, and then I have my Apothecary. That's a lot less anti-vehicle weapons than I thought. But I don't need to rely on Nemesis Demon Hammers if I want to kill vehicles with sticks. My Paladin squad is all equipped with Nemesis Force Halberds and the Warden Staves, so, I mean, aside from the Paragon, who has the hammer, obviously. So, if I hammer hand these guys, I'm going to be wounding knights on 4s, which is great. And honestly, they crap out so many attacks that just pure volume of attacks will take down a knight. I have seen them take down 2 knights in a game before, just this squad of 10. And that is incredibly reliable. I think I'm going to say yes to these guys, but I want to go through my other melee capabilities real quick. Dreadnought, with his fist, he's obviously not the right choice for this match because Assault Cannon, But he looks so rad, and it'd be cool if he could punch a knight to death. He's not going to, though. I'm sorry. You just... as cool as you are, I can't risk it. What I can do, going back to these guys. So, whereas our ranged weapons aren't going to do a whole lot, all of us are hitting at least strength 10 with our various melee weapons, the swords or the fists, and they're all pretty high AP, they're all doing a lot of damage, so I think these guys being a melee bomb is probably the way to go. And if I'm going to go with melee, my chaplain here is going to be exceptionally helpful. He can either chant words of power to choose a unit, such as the paladins, or maybe one of these dread knights, to reroll damage rolls in case they're low. D3s can be very swingy. They often come up as 1s. It'd be nice, words of power, let him reroll that. Alternatively, he could be chanting the Invocation of Focus, which will give my Nemesis weapons an additional AP. So my halberds and things over there will be swinging at minus 3 AP, which would be really nice since knights don't get their invulns in melee. In fact, just saying that settled the debate on whether or not I'm going to focus on range or melee against knights. I don't have a ton of range, and he'll be saving on 5-ups for his whatever knight shielding is called, their invulns. Or actually, no, he'll be saving on 4-ups whenever he feels like it because of rotate ion shields. So we're going to go with a melee focus. All right, that feels pretty good. Knowing that, we have to start building this actual list. These are all of the Justicars of my various Terminator squads. They're representing their teams at the moment, and what you'll notice is a lot of Strength 4 weapons on them, except you. These Strength 4 weapons aren't going to be doing a whole lot, especially since I'm going to be putting Hammerhand on my Paladins each and every round. So you guys aren't going to be doing a whole lot for me. Maybe some random Stormbolt or Fire, but also, that's only going to be hitting at Strength 4, so you'll be winning on 6s with those as well. I think I'm not going to bring a battalion. Sorry guys, you're all great, but we only need one Terminator squad today. So now, are we going to bring a Spearhead or a Vanguard detachment? Okay, so just a quick rough draft throwing together. I've got 2 HQs, my Chaplain, I've got my Grandmaster and a Nemesis Dread Knight. I am bringing the 2 Dread Knights because I'm going to rely on getting them into melee, which means you're going to be having first to the fray so that everybody can re-roll. I've also got my Paladins back there. They're going to also rely on that. And then I've got my little Dreadnought with his las cannon and his missile launcher, as well as the Storm Raven. You lucky bird. This added up quick. This is about 1,880 points. So I might have one more unit I can throw in there, and I've really got to think about it. We've got one more secret weapon we can throw in there, and that is my brother captain with the banner. But he hasn't had a very good showing on this channel so far, and I kind of really want to do him justice. Have him plop down, do a d6 mortal wounds to something, but every game that I've played with him on here, he kind of just hangs out. And if I bring him along, I also have to bring a brother captain to extend his range so that he can actually hit it 12 inches away as opposed to just 6. And I just frankly don't have the points to bring both of them. So I'm sorry, guys. Instead, I have a choice to make. My Apothecary, who is going to, as always, drop down with Inner Fire and just erase whatever he looks at. That would be really nice because, again, mortal wounds are the secret weapon against knights. You ignore their toughness, you ignore their saves. That might be really good. Just being able to plop down, drop a knight down a bracket, and go from there. Alternatively, for roughly the same points, I could throw in this little Razorback. But, again, I don't want to focus on shooting if I don't have to. I'm happy to bring some shooting in the form of this guy and that guy, and I'm really questioning this. But it's been a minute since I've brought my Storm Raven to the table, and I think it has enough really cool guns that it'll do something. I can throw some Terminators in there. It might be cool. Razorback, I'm not going to take you because I just realized I only have 2 elite choices right here, and I've made this a Vanguard detachment. So I have you as an elite choice, you as an elite choice, and then my Apothecary. 1978. What can I put on here for 22 points? I don't think I have anything. These guys aren't magnetized, so I can't just throw another ranged weapon on them. I don't have any hammers sitting around, so I can't put just a nice melee weapon on them. 1978. What do I do for 22 points? I have to think about this. Of course, I haven't paid for the teleporters on my Dread Knights yet, so that means I can give 2 Dread Knights teleporters. Okay, well this is a good time where I decide what's going into Deep Strike. So I know that I'm going to put these guys in that, and I think I'm going to put the Chaplain in there as well. No, that's dumb, because he needs to be doing his thing turn 1. Does he? We'll think about it. You're definitely going to the ground because you're a Dreadnought. The rest of you are too expensive to fit into space. You're definitely going into space, because that's your whole job. Paladins, you're going into... Are they going into space? Maybe I won't. Maybe I'll only put these guys in space. Let me think about this. This is always hard thinking about who goes in space, because you never know. I don't know what knights he's going to bring, so I feel like if I overthink it too much now, then he's going to bring something out of left field, like 4 armigers or something, and it's going to totally change up what I want to deep strike. But I always want to go into a match with an idea of what I'm going to deep strike. That way, A, I can play a lot faster and spend less time humming and hawing about the table, and B, I know more what my list is going to do, what the plan is, and how I'm going to do it. So I'll decide what's going to go in Deep Strike now and be comfortable with the idea of changing it later. My Paladins are... Are you going in Deep Strike? Yes. Okay, so I'm putting my Paladins in Deep Strike, which is about 500 points. My Apothecary, of course, is going into Deep Strike. I'm going to Deep Strike some whiskey into my face real quick. And then both of my Dread Knights. Not my Grandmaster. Just my regular Dread Knights. The idea, because none of these guys get to reroll charges or anything, the idea, I'll plop them down. I'll keep my Grandmaster hidden because he's relatively small. I'll keep him hidden behind something, a big building or a rock or something on my side. And turn 2, I will gate him up the field because he's bringing knights, and so he's not going to have any way to deny me. So I'm more than likely getting gate off unless I do what I always do and just perils twice. But he'll be going upfield and he'll be landing next to my Dread Knights and my Paladins as they deep strike in, and I'll have my whole force sort of there, ready to reroll charges and everything. And in the meantime, this guy will get shot out of the sky, I guess is the plan there. That's the thing. I've learned this recently with deep striking. I'm always tempted to put as close to 1,000 points as I can into deep strike because I figure if it's an ability that my army has, I should be utilizing it fully, right? But I've noticed lately that what that means is I start the game with a half-sized force on the field, and my opponent just has the run of it, erasing whatever they want. Because my target saturation, whatever, that's a term, right? Target saturation? Yeah, there's just not enough things for them to shoot at. So they're just like, oh, well, I'll just shoot at your best stuff. Which this time around will be my Grandmaster, who hopefully will have Sanctuary off, my really vulnerable Vendread, who doesn't have Duty Eternal cooked into him like the Space Marine ones have. This thing, which, sure, it's a -1 to hit, but, I mean, we all know what happens to Flyers turn 1. That's just how the game is. And then a squad of Terminators and a Chaplain in there. Again, would I put the Chaplain in? That's a thing I can decide at a time based off of the terrain. But as it is, I'll bring all this, and then this is about 50-50. Here, I'll go back into first-person view. So that's my chief concern at the moment, is that if I put all this into space, great, that's all protected, but then this is that much more vulnerable. Especially, imagine they're all in the Storm Raven. I have 3 models on the table. He's going to shoot the hell out of that thing. If he goes first. Who knows what will happen? If I go first, it'll be great. But, you know, it's super smart to rely on yourself going first, right? I just don't know what knights he's going to bring. I think I'm going to risk it, because, let's see, this is... How many points is the Storm Raven? 360? What could I bring instead of the Storm Raven? A lot. I could bring a lot instead of the Storm Raven. But I don't have any more heavy weapons. And that's really what it comes down to, is I don't have a lot of anti-knight tech, which is why I'm thinking about this. So, I broke this guy. I was trying to model him, and then I touched his shoulder and it broke. That'll work. So, I'm thinking that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to bring the Storm Raven. You know what? Even just for the psychological aspect, no one expects you to bring a flyer these days. I think I'm going to bring the Storm Raven. I think I'm going to fill it with guys. I'm going to have very limited drops. Ugh, but he's knights. He's going to have very limited drops. No, I'm going to commit to this. Paladins and the Dread Knights coming down from the skies, being joined by the Grandmaster, who's gating across the field to them to allow for rerolls to everything. And in the interim, my Apothecary will strike down and bracket the most dangerous target. Or maybe kill an Armiger. Who knows? He can do a lot of damage. And then I'll just have my Vendread picking off stuff with Astral Aim. This'll work. This'll work really well. The only downside is I don't really have any units to grab objectives. But he's knights, so he's probably not going to have a lot of units to grab objectives either, especially if I kill a few of them. And I'll have Titan Slayer. This is going to work. This is going to work, and it's going to be great. It's going to be great fun. Yeah. This is smart. I'm playing in a couple days, and then I'll have the video up probably about Monday or Tuesday. So stay tuned, and hopefully I break knights, but not my own. Hopefully I break his knights. Okay, I just had an idea, and I think it'll be good. Nixing the Chaplain, because if I get these guys into melee, they're going to cut through a knight anyway. I don't think re-rolling damage rolls for them or adding the extra AP is going to be incredibly helpful. And the Chaplain always has such a hard time making it upfield. So I think instead of the Chaplain, an Inquisitor in Terminator armor. She has the exact same points as the Chaplain, and what she can do, because I was awake and I was thinking about victory points, I can have her jump down deep in the backfield and just pierce the veil, because if he wants to stop her, he's going to have to dedicate a whole night. I'll drop her down somewhere behind a building or something. He's going to have to dedicate a whole night to going back and eliminating her, which if he does that, he's not shooting my knight. He's not shooting a knight at a bunch of other things. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to add an Inquisitor, drop the Chaplain, and she's going to pierce the veil in the back line. That'll give me points. So I have guaranteed 15 from that, assuming it works. Guaranteed 15 from Titan Slayer. And then we'll see what else we want, depending on what he brings. Then it's just playing primaries and killing knights. I'm feeling pretty good about this.